I can tell you right now, I never, ever suffered any harassment. The men that I worked with were wonderful. They treated me with respect. I think that's because I treated myself with respect. I never placed myself in a position that there would be some problem. But the men that I worked at, and I worked with maybe 25 or 30 men, all photographers, all vying for the same position that I had, and I never had any problem.
I think one of the greatest problems in World War II, as opposed to harassment as we know it today, was when they had the situation where rumors were started saying that the women that were serving were immoral and that they were only there for officers for sexual purposes. And they thought this was a propaganda effort by the Nazis, and investigated it and found that it really was a propaganda effort by American men in the service who were upset because they were being forced to leave the jobs that they had at desks here in the United States and leave for combat. And they weren't necessarily interested in doing that. They would have preferred to stay at their desks here in the United States. So that was the reason for that rumor. But it started a feeling that women who served in the military were immoral, and that feeling still existed at the time I came in 57, and many parents were reluctant to let their daughters go into service because of these stories that started back in World War II, for which there was never really any basis of truth.
That's very true, General Vaught. When I think back, when I decided to go in the military, because we are a military family also, my father was very happy and couldn't wait until I went in the military, but my mother had the same feeling that General Vaught just mentioned. She was not happy, and she had heard some of these rumors, and believe me, my mother was very unhappy, but my father, there was like a dichotomy there, and but I was very happy that I went in and had no problem, did my job the way I was expected to do, and it worked out fine.
Do you want to address that issue of harassment, either of you?
Well, I've never experienced any form of harassment. I'll tell you, nowadays there is zero tolerance from the highest level down, regardless of if you're a male or female. Everyone knows what the policy is, and if you are ever experience harassment, it is very clear, multiple channels that you can go through how to handle that. The only thing I ever experienced is kind of what I alluded to earlier, was just that uncertainty, which melts away once you do your job and you prove that you're there for the right reasons.
I had to second the same thing. There's never been an experience of harassment for myself, thankfully, and nor my peers, and we received the utmost respect, especially from the soldiers we're caring for. I mean, as a nurse, I'm in the best position I could possibly be, taking care of people who are fighting, defending my freedoms. It's never happened. I do have to backtrack for a second to what General Vaught said about the pay for a second, because I was thinking about it today, how far we have come and how even in the civilian sector, this is an opportunity thing for me, there's still women working, doing the same work as men and not making the same pay. In the Army, at least, and across all services, that's a non-issue. Equal pay for equal work, period. That's what happens. They've recognized, they understand that we're all capable, we're all eligible, and we can do the things that men can do too. And I really think that is one of the things that has stood out to me as a woman in the military service as a great thing the services have done to acknowledge our contributions and our abilities. So.
You know, I did mention a couple other restrictions in the original Army Nurse Corps, and that was they could not be married,
Or have children.
and needless to say, they couldn't have children. And I was always amused when I read the memorable experience of one of the nurses who served during that time, who retired after 20 years and got married the next day, which caused me to believe she'd had this in mind for some time.